On today's episode, we're going to talk about the good and the bad of TikTok, some of the worst financial advice that I've seen, and some of the best. Yes, I'm wearing shades because my eye is really jacked up. The doc put me on some meds. I look like literally Sloth from the Goonies right now. So we're going to keep it 100, and I'm going to be honest with you what's going on. That's the only reason why I'm wearing the shades. But I wanted to bring this video to you because there's a lot of really bad information that we find out there. And going into the new year, I want you to be well advised and know exactly what is real and what is fake. So let's get into this video. I found this video about, it looks like this person, as you can see, you see open house right there, is some type of lender is what I'm guessing. So whenever you go apply for a home, a lot of people always say, well, why do lenders tell me to just go ahead and pay off my debt? Well, I'm going to tell you why they come up with that, and we're going to break down after we watch this video. So let's get into it.
If somebody has a lower than 580 FICO score, what do you do?
Oh, simple. What we do is we run you through a credit simulator. What this does is it allows us to make multiple moves on your credit, whether it's paying some debt, adding some debt, opening credit cards, whatever.
All right, let's stop it right there. He says paying some debt, adding some debt. Okay, first off, we can't add debt. Let's just be very, very, very clear on that. So it's very loosey-goosey here. That really triggered me as soon as I heard that. I was like, add debt? How are you going to add debt? You don't want to add debt to your credit profile if you have a low FICO score. That's a big no-no. So if you're adding debt, are you talking about adding an authorized user and you're going to make sure that they have debt on their credit card? Because you just literally said add debt. We don't want to do that. We're going to put you through a score simulator. This is very common with a lot of actual lenders and real estate agents. Not really real estate agents, but more lenders. What they do is they put you into the simulator, and the simulator is going to tell them what you should pay, what you should not pay, and what actions you need to take. So let's finish watching the rest of this video.
Whatever it may be, to get you to a FICO score where you're approvable. And we do this at no cost.
If somebody has
So of course they're going to do it at no cost because they're trying to get you approved. Now, if you paid attention to the last words that he said, so we can get you approved. Now, he's not telling you what your interest rates are going to be. You do not want to get to an entry-level FICO score because, especially right now, let's say, rates are going to start at 8% on a home or some type of mortgage that you're going to do. You're going to come in at 8% with a high-tier credit score. But if you come in at an entry-level score, getting just barely approved, then your interest rate is going to be at the highest rate possible. And you do not want to have that locked in for 30 years. That'll be the worst financial decision you ever made. And what these lenders don't talk about is the fact that if you actually have to pay off debt, what does that mean? They don't tell you to negotiate a pay for delete. You always need to negotiate a pay for delete. If it's not going to be deleted, if the item is a charge off or a collection and it doesn't get deleted, guess what? It's still hurting your credit. The reason why they want you to pay this off is because it's coming up on your debt to income ratio. And your debt to income ratio is something that lenders focus on. They're not focused on long-term. They're not telling you that if you pay an original creditor and they do not delete the charge-off, the item is still a collection / charge-off and is still hurting your credit. They may get you approved barely, but guess what? You're going to have to live with that paid charge-off or collection for the next 7 years from when you made that payment. And it's still going to hurt your credit, and you're going to get not approved for all types of other types of lending because even if it's paid, it's still hurting your credit. And it's going to hold your credit score down like a ball and chain. So be very cautious whenever you talk to any lender. Shop around and talk to multiple lenders. Don't go with the same lender because all lenders are not created equal. I only work with one lender, and that's it. He's the only one I trust. Well, I just added a second one to my list, but literally that's only 2. That's crazy, right? And they all don't cover every single state. The 2 that I work with cover one of them covers all the states and the other one covers the majority of the states. So it's really important to understand that you can shop around and find other lenders. Don't ever go with the first lender because someone else may be able to work something out better for you. This is one of my favorite videos. Let's get into it.
What's the best financial advice that you would tell the younger generation coming out of school?
Well, I'll tell you what I told my grown kids. So when all the schools are pushing them to go to college, to go to university, to do all that stuff, my kids got out of school, didn't know what they wanted to do. And so I told them to go work, go travel, go figure yourself out before you go and invest in yourself, right? Because if you invest in, I don't know what I'm doing. It's not really good. They're now doing, my son's self-employed. He's an entrepreneur. So there you go. And
there you go. That's the best advice we could ever give any kids. This is the best financial advice. I have a 17-year-old and his mother wants him to go to college. There's nothing wrong with going to college. Let's understand that. But I bet a lot of you do not know that more than 50% of companies starting in 2024 are going to stop requiring bachelor's degrees to actually work for these companies because they're finding it to be useless. And guess what? Why would you want to push your child at 17 or 18 years old to sign for a loan that they have no idea what they're getting themselves into? Then they get into their late 20s, late 30s, and they realize, yo, I've got literally seriously over $30,000, $50,000. I've seen over $100,000 in student loan debt. Maybe they got their college degree. Maybe they didn't, but they still have to pay that money back. Or you as the parent, you are on the hook for that loan to help pay it off. And if your kid doesn't pay it off, then it hurts your credit also. So this is some of the best advice. Let's stop pushing our kids to go to college. Let's push them into figuring out exactly what they want to do, because it's going to take some time. A lot of us adults, it took decades for us to figure out what we actually want to do with our lives. And it took so many different jobs and so many different careers to figure that out. Why do we think that it's okay to push our kids to actually go to college and say, yeah, you're going to stick to that profession for the rest of your life? Nah, it just doesn't work like that. This is a great video. Last part is the most important. Video right here definitely triggered me. Let's get into it.
So here's a credit tip that you should always know. Never pay off a negative item that has been reported to your credit report that has been sent to the collections. I'm telling you, you'll be wasting your money doing it. First, you want to challenge the debt. You want to make sure they're able and legally can collect the debt from you, can collect this money from you. Creditor has sold your debt to a collection agency so they can make a profit on it. So you want to make sure that they have their documentation in order to be able to even collect this debt from you. The agency that actually sold your debt to the collection agency, they have forfeit the right to even collect any money from you from this point forward when they sent it. So you don't owe them. Like, you need to challenge this debt.
All right, let's go ahead and stop this video right here. This is a huge misconception that we see across all social media platforms. Once an item goes into collections or gets sold to a debt collector or gets charged off, you don't owe the debt. You don't have to pay the debt. No, it's absolutely false. There's different things that you do have to do, in fact, but understanding that if you have the means to settle a debt and get it deleted, you can, in fact, negotiate a pay for delete. But there's a very good topic here that I need to cover, is understanding the difference in a debt buyer, a debt collector, and then an original creditor. Original creditors do not delete actual charge-off accounts from credit reports. So we'll give you an example. Capital One, Chase Bank, American Express. Actually, American Express used to actually delete charge-offs from your credit reports if you set up a payment plan and you paid them in full. After you got through the whole program, they would actually delete it from your credit report, and then they would offer you what's called an Optima credit card to get you back into good graces and start rebuilding with American Express. But after COVID, they stopped doing it because defaults are probably the highest rate they've ever been in American history. But you need to understand, if you're going to negotiate with a debt collector or a creditor, the item must be deleted. But remember what I said. I'm not just saying this for fun, but understand, original creditors do not delete in exchange for payment. American Express has been the only original creditor that will delete. There are debt collectors like LVNV Funding, Midland Credit, Portfolio Recoveries. There's a bunch of other ones. I can't think of them right now on top of my head, but they will do what's called a pay for delete. Now, understand, if a debt collector is actually on your credit report and the original creditor is on your credit report also, guess what? The original creditor cannot be reporting a balance, and then the debt collector also be reporting a balance, because those two accounts could report, but only the actual debt collector that purchased the debt can report the balance. So this is really bad information, because they're just basically getting you to sign up for services, and we don't want to mislead consumers. And this is why people call Creditrepair scam, because you go into programs like this with people like this, unfortunately, and they're really not understanding how Creditrepair should work. They're not understanding debt collection practices. They're not understanding how creditors work. be very, very careful when you see stuff like this and don't fall for these traps, because you can, in fact, actually do a pay for delete. But if you do challenge something, you do have the right to challenge it. And she's absolutely 100% wrong at the very end of this video where she says you don't owe the debt. They're still trying to make money off you. No, you still owe the debt. Until the statute of limitations has ran out in your state, they can no longer sue you for that debt. Now, they can still pursue you and try to collect on the debt after the statute of limitations has expired, but they can no longer sue you for it. The one right here, this is the one that we need to pay attention to. This is one of my all-time favorites. It's one of the very few people that I found that actually knows what he's talking about. He is spot on. I've talked about the purchase agreement before. Let's get into it.
Start asking debt collectors for the purchase agreement instead of the validation of debt. When you send a debt collector a validation of debt letter, they don't have to send you the original contract. If you look up 15 USC 1692G, it says nothing about a contract, okay? However, if you send them a letter asking for the purchase agreement, there's a few things that you can catch them on. One, I'm going to tell you right now. If they bought it from another debt collector, because some debts just get sold to another one, to another one, to another one, they have to prove that they own the debt all the way from when they sold it to the original creditor. They have to have all the purchase agreements attached to it.
Yo, this is a huge one. I've talked about this before. He is spot on. This is one of the biggest problems with debt collecting, and they don't want you to know it. It's a huge secret in the debt collecting world. If it's gone from hand to hand in different hands of debt collectors, they have to show an unbroken chain of transfer of debt. That's just a mandatory thing. And if they can't produce that, then how do I know that so-and-so other debt collector still doesn't own it? Please explain to me, enlighten me. We don't know.
If they don't have all that, then it's inaccurate. You don't know if it's yours or not. Remember that. And two, sometimes that purchase agreement says it may be accurate. So
this is another huge one. I love this right here. That's a huge one. So the purchase agreement is the sauce. It is the holy grail. It tells you everything that they agreed to with the original creditor. And more than too many times, it's going to clearly state this information may not be accurate or complete. So understand. And when they sign on that dotted line, they're agreeing to that. This is why they do not want you to see the purchase agreement, because it tells all of the information that you need to know, and it can get the actual debt vacated.
Maybe accurate doesn't say that it is accurate. So if they can't prove that it's yours and it says it may not be accurate, it shouldn't be reporting on your credit report. So that's why it's very important to start asking for purchase agreements instead of validation of debt. You could really get them in trouble by doing that.
And this is a huge one. You're going to see a lot of actual, I'm not just going to say YouTubers, but it's all over social media. They're always saying, ask for the validation of debt, ask for the original contract with my wet signature. Well, if you have a credit card agreement, there was never a wet signature. So you're asking for something that doesn't exist. So it's really mundane and it's outdated information. The purchase agreement is the most important thing you always need to ask for, because they do not want you to see it. That's the reason why they're going to fight back. But you can continue to fight back and say, well, how do I know that you still actually really own this debt and the previous debt collector doesn't? Where did it come from? Are you the only debt buyer or debt collector that owns it? No, I don't know that. Show me the purchase agreement. If you go to a court of law, the judge is going to say, well, I mean, yeah, let's see the purchase agreement. What's up? Why are you hiding that? And then we're like, yeah, we don't have it, or we don't want you to see it because it has other information from other accounts. They purchase what we call a portfolio. It is a massive list of debts with names, social security numbers, date of birth, all types of information on it already. And they do not and cannot show it to you, because if they do, they're showing you information that they're not supposed to show to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure that you watch the next video, because it is about how to delete charge-offs. And don't forget, subscribe to increase your credit score.